Hello and welcome to the September 11th Wrestling Association budget hearing. I am President of the Board, Travis Johnson, and I am ready to get started. But before we open the public hearing on the association's budget, I'd like to pause for a moment, as today is September 11th, to honor the lives lost. And I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay. We're going to take a moment to pause to honor the lives lost and the courage shown on September 11th of 2001. All right, thank you. So the budget is more than numbers. It's a statement of our values and a plan to sustain Reston's common areas, programs, and services. Our duty is to use our members' assessments wisely, transparently, and with long-term stewardship in mind. We're here to listen carefully to your perspectives, weigh them against our fiduciary obligations, and make balanced decisions for the good of the community. If you wish to speak, please do so respectively and constructively. Your feedback helps shape Reston's future. And as always, I'd like to review our ground rules before we begin the meeting. Each director may speak briefly for up to 2 times on any motion. I understand this is a hearing, but I'm just going to do this for this as well, but only after everyone has had a chance to speak once. Please keep comments focused on the issue at hand. Personal attacks, interruptions, and long statements aren't necessary or acceptable. And all remarks, especially the colorful ones, must be directed to the chair. Please, no side conversations, and if you'd like to speak, wait to be recognized. If any of these rules are broken, I'll act to keep our meeting on track. And before we begin public comment, a few quick notes of appreciation and some reminders. So congratulations to the RA staff on another successful summer camp season. We had over 1,000 kids participate this year. Thank you to RAs Brock for representing the association at South Lakes High School's back to school night. I was there. It was a good event, really packed. So I'm sure we got the message out to a lot of people. And lastly, don't forget the Barton Hill Tennis Grand Opening is this Saturday at 9:30 a.m. All right, let's get to work. So moving on to the hearing.
Approve the agenda.
Do we have to?
Item B.
We don't have to approve the agenda, do we?
Item B,
Thank you.
the public hearing. Go ahead.
Okay. Who'd like to move to approve this week's agenda?
Move to approve the agenda for September 11th public budget hearing agenda.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
It's unanimous of all in attendance. Thank you very much. Now moving on to item C, public hearing on proposed 2026 operating and capital budget and assessment rate. So, do we have anyone who'd like to be heard?
If there's anyone who's joining us on Zoom this evening that would like to make a public hearing comment related to the budget, please raise your hand in the chat. If you'd like to make a member comment, please raise your hand in the chat.
I think we'll give them a minute. We'll give them to 6:05 to wrap up.
I think we did 6:10 last year.
I think you're right about that.
Did we do 6:10? Did we do the college rule?
Yeah, the college professor.
We did.
Yeah.
Although I do think we had at least one person speak last time.
Yes.
First budget
Yes.
hearing, but not the second one.
10
Is that
past,
what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 past 6.
Did we fill the time with anything last year? Music?
Yeah,
Dance?
Some of us ended up doing backflips in the culinary.
I know
Like elevator music.
we've got an actor in the room, so if they'd like to perform.
I know, I hear her leg is open. Oh.
Is Kara going to do an interpretive dance?
She's not.
She's not. That's awesome.
When they start to talk about themselves in the third person, that's when you know they're serious.
Well, I can share with you.
Please.
I'll even turn on my microphone so the people at home can hear.
Nice.
Yesterday, I attended the 55 and older trip, because I like to do that, to Stagecoach Theater with Ashley and team. And we had a murder mystery lunch, and it was lovely. Sat next to a lady on the bus who ended up being the killer. And then went home, met up with my mom, and found out that the killer lives next to mom. But we had a wonderful time. It was great.
That's good. And I hope nobody takes that as a negative assessment of Reston, that we've got killers living next door to our mothers.
We had a Vola at one point, so.
Oh, that's true. We did.
Yeah, that's right, with the monkey.
Killer next door.
The killer next door. Yeah, I should write a book. But it was lots of fun. And of course, Ashley and her team did a wonderful job as always.
That's great. But yeah, to continue with the South Lakes back to school night discussion, it's funny. It was my probably, I guess, my fifth back to school night at South Lakes, and it seems to just get more packed every year. Like the parents in Reston are so engaged with what their kids are doing. It's really heartening to see. And I met a teacher, one of my daughter's teachers, who I'll leave nameless since we're on the record, but he's a fourth generation Restonian, and is really trying hard for it to be five. Like he wants to encourage his kids to live here too. He's a big fan of our community. So at some point, maybe we should, I don't know, get him in here to do something for us. He's an English teacher.
I think it was my 10th.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I have 4 more and I'm done. Well, 3 more and I'm
Three
done.
more.
3 more and I'm done. I'm not excited about that at all.
The one benefit, Travis, is you suddenly have so much time you don't know what to do with. You're like, there's no kid activities at all.
Right.
Now what?
Well, that's
Yeah.
not completely true. You get to drive to the Berg.
That's true. That's true.
If we ever win a football game.
Not off to a good
Well, you
start.
can go even if we don't win.
We know how
We-
playing against ODU goes. It's gonna be a rough one.
Well, I mean, the encouragement is that we'll probably keep the Commonwealth Cups.
That's a given.
Well, I'm just saying, like, there's a win.
Once every 25 years, we forget how to play football. You know, the university wins, but generally it's a given.
Do we have anyone on line who'd like to speak about the budget rather than hearing us yap? I mean, you're certainly welcome to listen to us yap, but just saying.
I need a Jeopardy music button.
You'll learn on this.
I get started.
God, one of the best movies ever.
He has it, he has it.
All right, it is 6:10. I'm going to call it. So thank you to everyone who's online right now with us, and I hope you rejoin the meeting at 6:30 for our regular business. Thanks a lot. All right, we are back and we're ready to start the regular business of the September 11th, 2025 Wrestling Association Board of Directors meeting. Before I get started, just a moment. Thanks everyone who participated in the budget meeting. As we resume, just a brief reminder, each director may speak twice per motion after everyone has spoken once. Keep your comments on topic, please, directed to the chair. No interruptions or side conversations. If the rules are broken, I'll have to intervene. And let's get ready to get started. So next, we've got the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion's made?
Mr. President, this is not a joint meeting with the fiscal committee, correct?
No, that's correct.
Then maybe item B needs to be modified?
I suppose,
Oh, those, yeah.
yeah, item B says joint board of directors and fiscal committee meeting.
Or is that approval of the minutes? No, that should be.
No, it's the
agenda.
approval of the agenda for this meeting. We'll have to make that change. So can you revise your motion to approve the agenda with that change? Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous of all in attendance. Thank you very much. Member comments, please.
If there's anyone who's joined us on Zoom this evening and you'd like to make a member comment, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you'd like to make a member comment.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to move past that section to item D, the consent calendar. The only thing I see on the consent calendar is the minutes from the August 28 meeting. Is there a motion to approve that? Well, this is the consent calendar. I don't have to do that. So is there any issue with that? I'm sorry, Director Driscoll, did you say something?
That one should read, it's a joint meeting. Those minutes should read, it was the joint meeting,
They should.
but otherwise, no.
Okay. All right, then. I think we'll accept that with minimal issue. Moving on to item E, volunteer interviews. We've got 2 people, I believe, to be interviewed. One person was interviewed back in July. So we have Mr. Freed or Ms. Sridhar first. Brittany, you can choose.
Mr. Freed, you've been asked to unmute.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, yes. I don't know if you can see me or not, but yeah, so I'm part of the Environmental Action Committee, and I wanted to be part of the co-host, or co-chair, help Sharika out.
I'm sorry, just a quick correction. I believe it's co-vice chair.
Yeah, co-vice chair, actually, yes, right.
Thank you.
There I am. Yeah, we've got 2 people who, Jeanette and myself, we're going to help her out. I've been on the committee for a few months, and Doug left, so I thought she could use some help, and I would be more than glad to help. I've got plenty of free time.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Freed? All right, hearing none, I think, thank you very much for volunteering, and we will get back to you after this meeting to let you know the board's decision.
Very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. And feel free not to hang on if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm going to pop out here. Dinner
Okay. Just
All right,
speaking
thanks,
to
guys.
your good decision-making.
We'll see you
Mr.
later. Bye.
Hi, Sarika, how are you?
Good. How is everyone?
Wonderful, thank you. would you like to make a statement as you applied for another term as committee chair?
That's correct. Hi, everyone. My name is Sareka. For those who aren't familiar with me, I am a member of the Environmental Advisory Committee. I reapplied for my final term actually earlier this year. I've been on the committee since 2019, and I've been the chair since 2023. So I've completed 2 years, and now I'm going on to my third. Just wanted to say thanks to Tom and Jeanette, who applied earlier for the co-vice chair positions, because we do have a young committee, and so I'm hoping that there'll be others that, as they come through as vice chairs, would also slowly start to maybe show interest in taking over the chair role, since I'm entering my final term. So it'd be good to have some continuity going forward as well. I know there's still 3 years going ahead, but still, if somebody else shows interest, it'd be good to have other people get involved and understand the procedures. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time as chair, and I think the committee is doing great work, and I look forward to doing it again if the board would have me.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board? All right, seeing none, you too are free to leave. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate all the hours you've spent volunteering.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. We're on to item F, CEO update. Mr. Cummins.
Thank you, President Johnson. So in our CEO update this month, I've given you administrative information regarding 4 items that are ongoing work items for the association. All the information was contained in a PowerPoint presentation and videos for each of the 4 items. In addition to that, tonight, I would like to just draw the board's attention to a couple things that are coming up that the board may want to attend or participate in. So as President Johnson mentioned, we're having the big Barton Hill tennis reopening, which is a pretty big project in our racket sports community. That's coming up this Saturday, 9:30 to noon. Just a couple more details. You may want to pass the word along. We're going to have a demo court out there so that everybody can see how with the ball machine and hit balls back and forth. There'll be an exhibition match with some outstanding tennis players. So if you've never really seen like people that really play tennis, hit the ball really hard back and forth, that's pretty exciting. It's actually pretty cool compared to the typical Weekend Warrior adult game. And there'll be raffles and giveaways and prize opportunities. So feel free to bring the kids, get a chance to take a picture with the gigantic rackets. And if you haven't seen those, they're very fun. So that's happening this Saturday. And then on Saturday, September 20th, the Multicultural Festival is occurring over at Town Center. We have a booth. We go out and staff it, but in the past, board members have expressed interest in staffing the booth on behalf of RA and interacting with folks out at the Town Center. So if you are interested in that, would love to have you out there. So we have shifts that run in about hour-and-a-half increments starting at 11 and then running through about dinner time. So Hob Rock actually helps coordinate all of the volunteers for the event. So if you have interest in staffing the booth, just reach out to her. And if you don't communicate directly with her, I'm sure Laura Kowalski or Peter Luss can help you connect with her. So that's a week from Saturday on the 20th. So that's what I've got for you this evening.
Great. I see 4 items that here as sub-bullets. We've got cluster outreach update. Was there anything for each of these items that are in the agenda?
Not beyond the information we've already provided you. Our staff are here if there are questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Director Juszczyk.
So one of them, item B, is on the election data, and without objection, I'd like to include the email that the chair of the elections committee sent the board yesterday in the minutes for this update. I also would like to ask if you can update the board on the PRZ zoning amendment, because there's been some changes since you wrote the report.
I'm not sure how to answer that question. So I had.
Board of Supervisors met.
Yeah, yes. So I had proposed doing an update on that specific thing and was told not to do that with the board.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last one.
When we had our agenda setting meeting, we did not let Mac know that wasn't necessary to provide a full update on the
Except
PRC
that there has OBE, it's been overtaken by events. The Board of Supervisors authorized advertising of the ordinance, I believe, on Tuesday.
on Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I was asking him to do. But yes, for the board's edification, the Board of Supervisors met on their normal monthly meeting, and they proposed advertising that, and we should familiarize ourselves. And I was hoping that maybe staff had taken a look at what was proposed so that we could have an update on what has changed since the last time the board saw it. But it is going to go to the Planning Commission in October.
I believe we spoke earlier, there is analysis being done of what's been posted, Mac.
Yes, and if the board is interested, we would be happy to come back on the 25th to discuss that.
Okay.
Mr. President, if the public hearing is in October, it seems to me that we need to know something before the September meeting as to the evaluation of what was. First of all, Mr. President, the board package gets published on Friday before a Tuesday meeting. So this has been out in the world since Friday. Now, I've been kind of unplugged, but it was there on Friday, and it's now Thursday. So this has been out there for almost a week. And it seems to me the board ought to be provided with a copy of what was authorized for advertising as well as an analysis.
I was under the impression it was Tuesday, this week that it went out?
No, it went out on Friday.
It went out on Friday.
Board
Okay.
packets always go out on Friday. It was just officially
Board of
approved
No,
on
I don't,
Tuesday.
and that's what I was asking, not about the board package being Friday. I know we get it on Friday.
I'm sorry, I'm not being clear.
Thank you.
The Board of Supervisors
Supervisors.
package goes out on the Friday before the Tuesday board meeting.
I see. Thank you.
So what the staff recommended for advertising was distributed last Friday, a week ago, basically. And so what I'm saying is, we should have a copy of what was recommended for advertising and now authorized for advertising, and have the dates. I'm concerned about getting an analysis at the end of September for a planning commission meeting. I don't know, when is the planning commission meeting proposed? Do we know?
I guess it's second.
Because it seems to me that this board wants to decide what the testimony is, and that's, we had more time, and I'm concerned that we're squeezing ourselves by waiting until October, or at the end of September.
I'm sorry, Director Perry.
I'm just curious, Director Johnson, or President Johnson, when people decided they wanted this update, is there a reason an email didn't go out to staff asking for it? Like, why are we waiting until the public meeting to tongue lash staff of not getting us something that we knew we wanted?
Director Jessup?
Because it's on the agenda. So I thought staff would be updated and be giving us an update. I'm telling you guys because I know, and it didn't seem like Mac knew. That's why I offered the opportunity for him to say it. But the Planning Commission meeting is on October the 8th, and the board meeting is on October the 28th.
Mr. Cummins?
I'm sorry, yeah. Comment has been made, you didn't know. Can you offer some thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We absolutely knew that the intended published date was at the end of last week. We had suggested a discussion item to do exactly what Director Farrell is suggesting. And in the meeting where we set the draft agenda, which includes President Johnson, Vice President Santa, Director Flashman, Director Farrell, there was specific direction to not do that. So we absolutely knew the timing and would have been prepared for tonight.
So, Mr. President, it isn't just that this has been out there for a week and we're not prepared to discuss it tonight. It's also that if it was out there for going into the board package last Friday, our supervisor knew about it before last Friday. Our supervisor knew what was going to be in it before last Friday. Because remember, this is his initiative. So it's not just that we're sitting here a week later and we don't know. The board doesn't know. It's that for reasons I can't explain, our supervisor chose not to advise you of what the language would be, or our CEO of what the language that the staff would recommend at your monthly meeting. So it's like, okay, this is a RA initiative, and yet RA seems to be kept in the dark.
Well, our monthly meeting is actually scheduled for tomorrow.
Understood.
So we wouldn't have
Understood, but I would suggest to you that with the way that the county wheels grind very slowly, that this was known at your last meeting with the supervisor. And so there was when we were putting the agenda together, the proposed authorized for advertising wasn't out yet. So what are you going to discuss if the proposed agenda for advertising hasn't been released? So it's not that we dropped the ball in trying to set the agenda. It's that, wait a second, this is a week later. We need to know what's going on.
Okay. Well, heard it. I appreciate it. There's no further action we can take right now, except for staff to get us an analysis as soon as they can, which we are shooting for the next meeting.
And what I'm saying is we need to have that analysis before the next meeting. I mean, it seems to me that we can have this. I'm going to raise another issue later. We got another issue directed to us by email regarding the proper interpretation on the Wheeler project. And I want to discuss that when we're done with this issue. But we got that by email. There's no reason why we can't get that analysis by email well before the next board meeting.
If we'd like to do that, then let's make a motion and ask staff to provide it.
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion. Director Lanza.
So what type of timeline and delivery would we be looking for so everyone's on the same page with expectations? Do we want it this coming week? Do we want it at the next board packet?
What I'm saying is as soon as it's ready, that was my motion, as soon as it's ready by staff, that we don't wait until our board package is published in 10 days. That as soon as the staff has an analysis done, I don't know if they're going to consult counsel, I don't know if you're going to consult with Ms. Mariska, but as soon as that's available, get it to us as opposed to waiting for the next board package. That's my point. And I don't know how long it's going to take them. I'm not going to try and tell them how long. But as soon as it's done, don't wait for the next board binder. Get it to us.
I think we've got enough clarity there. Any other?
I'd like
Director
to,
Butler.
yeah, I'd like to ask our CEO about the timing and how long it will take the staff and the CEO office to do that analysis and share with the board.
Yeah, we can easily have that sometime in the early, middle part of next week. So, and yes, to answer the question, yes, we will consult with Ms. Mariska, as well as our professional staff.
And thank you. Okay, motion's made, seconded. We've had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5-4. Against, and against. I see 0 against and abstaining. 2 abstaining. So 5-0-2. Motion carries.
Before we move on, Mr. President?
Yes.
I referenced this earlier. We got an email, and thank you for that, Mr. Cummins. We got an email earlier this week about an interpretation of a proffer regarding the Wheeler Townhouse project over on off of Sunset Hills Road. I always have to be careful, make sure I make the right reference. The board may not be aware of this, and it wasn't in the memo, but proffer interpretations, if we disagree with them, can be appealed to the Board of Supervisors. And that's the decision for this board to make as to whether or not we want to do that. I'm not advocating that. But it's clear to me, to those of you who've read that memo, that effectively that language is satisfied with a drive-by meeting. I was representing the association at the Planning Commission meeting and the Board of Supervisors meeting on that case, because it happened while I was president. The representations were made to this organization by Mr. Coniglio and Mr. Looney, that there would be more specific, in-depth conversations, that they definitely wanted to join RA and that they needed to work out the details, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the zoning administrator's interpretation says, no, they don't have to do that with this language. This language doesn't require them to do that. That's not what the intent is represented to this association at a planning commission meeting and at a board of supervisors meeting. And I think that our supervisor needs to know that this language isn't going to work for the association going forward. If a drive-by meeting is all that the developer has to do in order to satisfy this kind of proffer language, then we need different proffer language. Because a one-off meeting, hi, how are you, see you later, and especially given the fact that Wheeler is the owner of Hidden Creek and wants to redevelop Hidden Creek. And so apparently Wheeler's word is not very good, or at least they're not going to fulfill, or they're going to do something that doesn't implement the representations that were made to the association when they got their rezoning. So one, I wanted the board to know we don't have to live with this, but again, I don't recommend it. But I do want to ask the board president and the CEO to communicate our disappointment to our supervisor and to let our supervisor know that this kind of language is not going to be, given how it's interpreted, that this kind of language is not going to be satisfactory in the future. Because this language, all they have to do is say, hi, how are you? And they're done. And the object here at the end of the day is to get as many of the new residents, consistent with our policy, to get many of the new residents in the TSA to join RA so that we can reduce our assessment by spreading it over a large number. If you need a motion, I'll make it. But I don't think I need a motion.
I'm going to interrupt, because if we're going to convey something that's supposed to be the position of the board, I'd like the entire board to have spoken on it. So, if you'd like to make that motion, please feel free.
I move that the board, that we communicate, that the board communicate to Supervisor Alcorn our disappointment with the interpretation, and that we are going to need different language in the future to encourage developers to negotiate with RA in good faith to join RA, and that the current language will no longer be acceptable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there discussion?
I have a question for Director Farrell. You said that there were representations, oral representations made at the hearing at the time when the proffer was accepted.
Yep.
Can they be held to those?
Well, Mr. Lanza and I had a conversation about that. The plain language of the proffer, what they did probably complies with the plain language of the proffer. I think a good argument can be made that the language anticipated more than a drive-by meeting. But, and so therefore I don't recommend appealing it, but I do think we need to communicate to the supervisor that this language isn't going to fly going forward.
Are there verbal offers or statements as to what they would intend to do recorded?
I believe it was. I'd have to go back to the videotape to know, because I testified and raised the issue, and there was a response by Mr. Looney saying that they were going to negotiate with us.
And can't they be held to their?
It's the language in the proffer that is the language that counts. And so, they want to take a narrow reading of the language. Apparently that's where we're at. And so the language needs to be much more robust going forward, because this effort was, I don't think anybody anticipated this effort to be as minimal as it has been.
Director Perry.
I would suggest that, in future negotiations, we negotiate better. And the fact that the lawyers in the room negotiated the language, that's on the lawyers in the room at that time. And in the future, we'll negotiate better language, and therefore, this is what it is. We're done, move on.
Okay. Director Lanza.
I would like to propose a substitute motion in the same spirit. The substitute motion would be to direct staff to partner with Supervisor Alcorn in creating a template language that can be used to construct more meaningful conversations between developers and resident association to encourage the developers to join Reston.
I would second that motion.
I think it's important that, one, we identify that there is a problem here, but also be able to provide a solution or at least work in the direction instead of just saying, hey, we have a problem. Let's try and find a solution and let's act as good partners with our supervisor and work to improve our future negotiations by having that standard language to work from.
Director Farrell.
Director Flashman had his hand up first.
Director Fleshman.
As a point of information, who controls the language of a proffer?
It's typically between the applicant's attorney, the county attorney, and the supervisors.
So it's negotiated, or do they simply say, this is what I'm willing to offer?
Typically, there's a back and forth process during the rezoning or whatever entitlement process you're going through for those conditions or proffers.
And would the rest of the association have an opportunity to participate in that?
Yes.
I assume if it's on coveted land, yes.
No. Homeowners associations I beg your pardon, Mr. President, with your
And
permission.
also, I'm going to ask our attorney to weigh in on some of these questions, to act as our attorney, because, I want us on equal footing. So
Council doesn't do zonings.
I'm asking council
Go
to
ahead.
play a role. He's our attorney.
At this point, I could research it and get back to you, but I'm not.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. President, just to try and answer the question, it is regular practice for the adjacent homeowners to have their voices and their suggested proffers heard, considered, and advocated by the supervisor. We've already, I'm speaking in opposition to the substitute. We already have a policy. Our policy is that all residential units in the compact plan area, the Reston Master Plan area, join RA. That policy is already in place. My motion simply says this language doesn't advance that policy. And to communicate the fact that this language doesn't advance that policy. It's really not up for the supervisors to come up with the language. And
Let's bring this back to his motion.
it is, because his motion is for us to work with the supervisors to come up with the language and say, it's not the supervisor who won't do that work. That really is for us to come up with alternative language. And as I said to my good friend before the meeting started, the time to do that is the next case, not in a vacuum.
Okay.
And so that's why I opposed the substitute motion and want to stick with the first motion that puts our supervisor on notice that this language doesn't work for our policy.
Okay. So we've heard multiple sides of the substitute motion. It's been made, it's been seconded. All in favor of the substitute motion? Aye. 3, 4 in favor, and opposed? 1, 2, 3. The substitute motion carries. So now we need to.
Abstain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We had 4 and 3.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's 7. But there were 8.
Okay, so what do we do with the original motion?
No, his motion becomes the original motion.
Okay, so now we actually have to vote on the
Vote on-
original, on
have to
the new
vote.
motion.
Okay.
So let's vote on on the original motion. All in favor?
Hang on. Just clarify, please. What are we voting on?
The same motion we just voted.
The substitute motion that we
Yes,
just approved.
that is now
We're
the main
moving-
motion.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that we're making a mistake and we should do a combination of the two motions. I think it is very important for us to go.
We've made the motion and
And I'm
done this.
speaking to the motion on the table.
The substitute motion she's speaking to it as the main motion.
And I was just about to get to the
Sorry.
vote, but please.
Well, that's why I
Please,
raised my
go ahead.
hand for discussion this time. I think that it is important for us as a board to, as President Johnson said, for us to speak with a voice when we're speaking with Supervisor Alcorn. And I think that Supervisor Alcorn does need to know that we are disappointed with the outcome of this case. And I don't think that the substitute motion has that weight in it. I do agree that, we need to come up with better language that we want in future proffers. But I do think it's equally as important for us to communicate how we feel this case went. And that's missing from this motion. So that's why I will vote against it. Thank you.
Further comments on this motion? Okay, all in favor? All in favor and opposed? 3 opposed, so the motion carries. Anything else on item F?
Can I just clarify? So we do have our meeting with Supervisor Alcorn tomorrow. We can certainly raise the issue and let him know that, as we move forward, we'll be working with him on that. Probably report back to the board on timing and a few things after we start the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Joshuk.
Mac, you didn't put anything in your update that related to the conversations that you had with apartment owners. Like, what was the reception? I found your updates in general to be we took these actions, but I think what is important, at least to me from a board perspective, is that we understand the progress that we're making on items versus just hearing we took these 4 steps. So I would be interested to know more about the conversations that you had with the apartment owners and the reception that they had. And also you had mentioned that there was a leave behind marketing type piece. I think it would be important for the board to know what that looked like and what we're ultimately trying to communicate. And then, there were only 3, and I was wondering, is there a plan to get through all of them in a certain time period? Like what is that? And then the last thing I have on this is, I thought that you might speak tonight to Roland Clark Place, because I had brought that up on Tuesday. And I understood that Peter was going to give you a heads up. We're finding in the Land Use Committee that we're a little behind the 8 ball when it comes to when the cases are coming up, and it seems like staff have a plan going forward. But Roland Clark Place is coming fast and furious, and we didn't have an update as to whether we'd even reached out to them. But it's been an ongoing case for a while now. We're now just kind of getting to the end. So if you could speak to those few things, that would be appreciated.
Sure, we'll speak to the apartment outreach. The reason that let me start with the overall approach. So you may recall that we reported earlier in the year that a combination of the chief financial officer, the chief operating officer, and myself will be reaching out to these folks on behalf of the association to gauge their interest in joining. We felt like it was important to have the executive team part of pitching the benefit of being an RA. Primarily, the approach really is a cold calling exercise. These are all existing apartment buildings as compared to things that may come to this board to have a policy position on to advocate for through like an SSPA or a rezoning or something. So I would say In terms of getting to all of the apartment owners, we imagine that it would probably take about 6 quarters to get to all of them, and we're about 3 into it now. So we are getting to half dozen or 8 each quarter. I would say overall, the reaction has been glim at best. Everyone loves the conversation until they find out it's $850 for each unit. And then they're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of new costs to them. That's not to say that we won't get there. So you may recall that we reported early on we did not expect to see substantial success with the cold calling exercise because of that situation. And our approach really is going to be over time to continue to work on folks. We did have a couple that were somewhat positively received. They were not my phone calls. I don't remember if Peter Ed, was the one who talked to the couple that we put in the packet, and we're due to have follow-up conversations with them. The leave behind materials, I'm happy to have Kara get out to you sometime in the next week or so. It's a very traditional leave behind. It's a folder that looks like the RA, marketing brochure, if you will. The information inside has to do with the financial metrics, how membership works, what you get for your membership, all the things you would normally do in a marketing. But it's meant to be fairly slim. It's not meant to be a big book.
Is there a strategy that you have? Like what types of things are you talking to them about? Like what are you trying to highlight, right, to entice them to become part of the association? It's
amenity structure. It's what you get for being a member. And we speak a lot to why we think their residents will enjoy being members, and it's a worthwhile expense. And each one might have a different thing. Some people say, my folks are more interested in aquatics. Some people say, my folks are more interested in trails and open space. I mean, so we customize the conversation depending on where it goes after the start.
And then Roland Clark is the other.
So my understanding, and I don't know, I might look to Peter, we had been prepared to start inviting folks to the Land Use Committee meeting. I understand the Land Use Committee is still working on, or just finished up, a letter to start inviting people after several months of discussion on what that might look like. So I have personally not reached out to them. I had in the past until I understood this effort was ongoing. From a status standpoint, my understanding is that Roland Clark would come to the Land Use Committee or not, and then this body could take up a policy position to adopt. And certainly we tell everyone through the door that if residential is involved, we want them to join the association.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about the Land Use Committee piece at all. I'm talking about, have we contacted Roland Clark Place to become members, to put the proffer statements in their proffers as they go through the process? That's the piece that I thought that you were working, that is separate from the Land Use Committee that the CEO works on. And I honestly thought it was you and our council. I didn't know you were doing that process with the rest of the executive team. But when it comes to becoming members, I thought that the plan was that you would reach out so that the proffer that we just talked about that was not successful, we would ask them to have that proffer put in their materials as they submit. Which means we're engaging them to become members as they go through the process.
So just so we're not all, just to separate a few things out, no, I don't believe that's our understanding. So when someone's going through a legislative process or working with Fairfax County on changing zoning to allow residential, I'm not sure that the board has authorized me to negotiate specific language for proffers without running them through the board. My understanding of that process would be that the Land Use Committee wanted to make a recommendation and specifically instructed staff that they would be the starting point for that. Of course, if developers on non-covenanted land choose not to go to the Land Use Committee, which continues to happen, we're still trying to understand exactly what that means for timing if the full board wants to take it up, because it's not on the conveyor belt that's contemplated in the resolution.
I think we need to get on the same page on this, because it's very frustrating to me to be sitting here even over a year after the Land Use Committee has been in place, and we had these discussions as the Land Use Committee came into play. And it was made very clear, I felt like at the time that we wanted to make sure that the land use committee had no say in negotiating with developers on becoming part of RA, that was a CEO, legal counsel piece. And so my expectation is that our CEO on an ongoing basis is evaluating SSPAs, land use cases that might be coming forward, and reaching out to those developers to see if we can't get these proffers in their packet as they go through the land use process. If that is not the understanding of the board or the understanding of staff, then I would suggest we need to get on the same page when it comes to what we are trying to accomplish here.
Director Farrell.
I'm confused, and I really am lost. We have a policy that this board adopted that said all residential development in the Reston Master Plan area, I think that's the phrase, should join RA. Do we really need to do anything more than that in order to have that kind of outreach? I'm lost. It's a board policy. They should join RA.
Just from my position, hearing here, so this development does not exist yet, yes? It's still in progress. Therefore, there's a fair amount of time in which you could fulfill the statement that, just a second, please, that Director Farrell is referring to.
That's correct.
And what's the time frame in which you expected to implement the board's mandate?
Well, I just heard yesterday that the planning commission date, has been set, which we don't find out till we find out. So, I mean, we clearly would, at a minimum, reach out and say, hey, we would expect new residential to try to come into the association. In terms of drafting actual proffer language, I guess I will say I am confused because the board was just having a fairly lengthy conversation about exactly what proffer language should be and wanting to weigh in on what that is as compared to the general concept, which Tony and I have lots of conversations with developers. In those scenarios, they're already entitled and we're trying to get them into the process while they're under construction or right before they break ground or that sort of thing, not as part of the negotiation of proffer process, which I think is a little bit different and maybe somewhat ambiguous. My advice would be that we not have multiple people talking to developers about proffer language. So if the office of the CEO and general counsel will be solely responsible for that, understood. But I did not understand that discussion point until it's coming up right now.
I think we need to move on.
Just actually, no, Director Perry has something to say.
Well, I would concur. I mean, first of all, I voted against the land use committee. I didn't think it was ready. I still don't think it's ready a year later. But we have heard many, many times, it must come to land use, it must come to land use. Don't you dare do anything until it comes to land use. And now we're hearing, oh, why aren't you on this instead of it coming to land use? I mean, once again, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And, if honestly, let staff do their job and let's get rid of land use.
Fair enough. I think that ends the conversation. This was an informational section, so there's not going to be board action here. We're going to move to item.
His substitute motion.
There's not going to be further board action. Moving on to item G, the benefits fee-based pyramid.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So we're going to go through about 50 slides here tonight. Just kidding. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of the report that was in the packet. If you remember last year, we introduced this topic as a way to evaluate our non-assessment fees. So every year during the budget, you all get a sheet with about 700 different fees on it that we charge for various programs, rentals, other things in the association. During my first budget, I was looking at the sheet and thinking to myself, we really need a way to evaluate the things that we're doing so that we can improve, make changes, understand what's important to the membership, what's not important to the membership, what we can cut, what we can add, things of that nature. So this is our first report. After looking at that, the list of fees and looking at this process, this is our first report based on a process that you all approved last year. So just as a quick reminder, this exercise is based on individual or group benefits. So at the very bottom of the pyramid would be all of the things that are included in your base assessment. So use of pools, trails, playgrounds, courts, things of that nature. And at the very top of the pyramid would be your individual benefits. So private swim lessons, private tennis lessons, things of that nature. In between those two levels are things like group lessons or boat rentals or things like that that would benefit some, but not large groups and not individuals. And then fees are adjusted based on the way the pyramid is structured. So we committed a year ago to bring this report back. Admittedly, we may have gone a bit overboard. There's 43 pages of information. I hope everyone memorized everything. But since I know everyone reviewed the memo and looked at the video, I just want to hit a few highlights. So when we do these types of exercises, it's important to me that not only the actual outcomes are evaluated, but we look at lessons learned and things we can do better in the future. So I just want to hit on a few of those issues tonight. It's also important to remember non-assessment fees account for about 20% of our revenue. So 80% is the assessment, 20% non-assessment, and that 20% is not represented in this report. This is maybe closer to 10 or 15%. We have other revenue streams. I do want to just shout out staff. I was going to have everyone come tonight, and I then told them not to come, but this touched every department, and this was a new way for us to evaluate the things that we do. So I really would like to thank the staff that were involved because everyone bought into a new process and a new way of thinking. So this was new for some, and I thought we did a great job for year one. So let me just talk about some of the things we've learned, some of the opportunities for change, and then I'm open to answer any questions. So as you were going through the report, I'm sure some of you are asking, why aren't expenses tied to all the revenue? It's hard to look at what is a revenue generating program unless you're also looking at expenses. One of the things that we found as we were going through the process is that through our reporting, many of the ways that we report roll into several different budget lines. So the cleanest way for us to produce this report for the first time was to look at budgeted revenue, actual revenue. Expenses are sort of tied in across multiple different budget lines. So for me, it might have been irresponsible and very clunky to try to tie expenses that I couldn't tie directly to expense. So when we look at some of these fees, what staff are doing on the back end, and when I think it's the next meeting on the 25th, you'll get the first draft of our fee list for 2026. Staff on the back end are evaluating costs and are tying those into new fees. So for example, when we evaluate camp costs, we look at our costs across the board. We look at what our revenue goals are, and we set those fees accordingly. We just felt for the first year of this report, we weren't quite prepared to do that, and I didn't want to report numbers that I couldn't defend when I was sitting here tonight. One of the big items I know we're going to discuss is non-member recreation passes. Some will remember that a few years ago, we raised the non-member recreation pass. It might have been 60% at the time, and then the next year, we made it the same fee as the member assessment fee. So we're seeing about 90 less passes for non-members from the year before, but revenue is about 10 grand lower than where we want to be. So revenue is sort of where we want it to be, but we're seeing less participation, mostly due to the increased fee. We did make a recommendation that there may be an opportunity to offer a tennis-only pass when pools close. Tennis courts will stay open generally through December. We have gotten away from doing that, but our tennis folks are telling us we may be able to sell more non-member passes. But what we don't want to do is sell a discounted pass to allow people to use pools. So this would be something that when pools close, we could perhaps offer a tennis pass in the fall. It's just an idea. What we also learned is that there's still a lot of year left. We have 4 months of running programs and rentals and other things. So when you see actual revenue in the report, that's based on time. So we still have 4 months of renting Brown's Chapel, renting the lake house, things of that nature. So if you see fees that may not have hit their target, we still have a ways to go. So in the future, this report may need to come later. We're still figuring out the best way to do that. Just some areas that we can think about. So we do have the RV and boat storage yard down at CSF. Last year, we raised the non-member fee, I think by about 20%. There was no change to the customer base, so we feel like there's still a market there if we want to raise that fee. And again, I'm just trying to get your brains wrapped around how the exercise works and how the pyramid works. And then in the camp program, our base camp programs were very successful. So we run many different types of camps. What we call our base program would be our junior day camp or our day camp, which is run at Brown's Chapel. We have run other programs that we call adventure camp, which this year turned out to be not very popular. There are many different reasons for that, some of that being economics of the area, federal government cuts, things of that nature. So we're making some tweaks to that program. In the future, I think there's some opportunities for change. We have some programs that are currently in tier 3 or maybe even in tier 4 of the pyramid that I would like to see us maybe think about differently. One of those areas is the Walker Nature Center. We run many programs there where fees may be a barrier for participation. The revenue expectations are not huge expectations. There may be an opportunity over time to lower those fees to allow more participation at the Nature Center. And also another example is Lake Ann boat rentals. We do boat rentals at Lake Ann. We've heard that the fee for renting the boats may be a barrier for some to use the boats. So there's an opportunity to think differently about how we do that over time. So what am I looking for tonight? First, I think if anyone is open to giving the staff that worked on the report a shout out, I think that would be great. But what I'm really looking for is we're having a rather large budget conversation on the 25th of September. And I'm happy to do any research background, provide any other information for the 25th so we can have a productive conversation that night. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. So actually, let me be the first, so thank you. I wanted to thank you and staff for putting this whole report together. I know this was not an easy task.
Thank you.
So I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn to Director Mafar to follow up.
What else can I say? He wouldn't let me talk. Actually, I want to echo what President Johnson said. I want to echo what President Johnson said. I think there's a lot of data in here, and I know that it takes a long time, and you have to make sure that the data, you get the right data and all of that. We don't have to go into details on that, but staff, kudos to them for capturing this, collecting this, organizing this, and putting it in the table so that I could understand what's in there, basically analyze just the first read, get a reading as far as trends and things. Since this fee pyramid has been put in place, this is probably a bit early to say that it's working and it's not working, et cetera. As you know, it's data. You have to get to an equilibrium point, maybe a couple more years and so on. But this is a good start. This is a good start.
Absolutely. Director Lanza.
I had a question specifically about the central services facility. Do we think there's any opportunity to expand?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you haven't been down to the rental yard at CSF, it's packed with mostly campers and RVs. So there really is no other place. You can't park a camper in your yard or things like that. So there isn't much of an opportunity to expand the yard. What we've been looking at, there may be some longtime renters who need to leave. So that would be an opportunity for us to expand, is to maybe move some folks on that may not be responsive to our inquiries, things of that nature. But the yard cannot get any bigger than it is.
Gotcha. And then a follow-up question on that, since likely can't expand that yard, is there an opportunity to look for other properties that are not being fully used at the moment? And maybe we could look at more commercial clients potentially.
Sure. So none come to mind off the top of my head, but I think that's a good exercise. We're happy to do some work and report back on it.
How would we do, Mr. President?
Director Farrell.
If I ask Director Lanza, how would we do that? We're going to rent commercial property from somebody else and then rent out the parcels to members or non-members?
No. I was thinking more like that comes to mind across from the Reston Kiss and Ride spot, where the guy has the barbecue.
By the soccer field?
Yeah, by the soccer field, the area where people park commercial vehicles that aren't supposed to, and there are clearly signs there saying not supposed to. Mm-hmm. Is there an opportunity there to then lease that space for people to keep like vehicles or something like that?
So RA would lease that space from the owners? Does RA own that land that you're talking about?
To the owners, that's RA. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's RA land.
That's RA land.
Is what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I both know it would depend on what the zoning is and setbacks and all of that. We'd probably want to engage our on-call engineers to see if we could even do something like that. And I don't know if that's something you want to direct them, the staff, to pursue.
Well, we will look into it. That's fine. Okay.
Did you have another question, Director Farrell? Okay. Anyone else? Director Perry.
Thank you. This was very good, very detailed. Appreciate it. A couple things. One, just something based on what you said about the fact of timing of the report, for example. Perhaps it's something that for future, rather than going calendar year, do fiscal year potentially, just so that they align with budget. Obviously, this is good information for us to have during budget season, I think. So just a thought on that. The other piece, I did see notice of garden plots in here. And as you know, I've been a proponent of expanding that program.
Yes.
And potentially with moving forward with a different kind of setup for that program. Has that been contemplated at all? Because I didn't see that in here.
Yeah, so it's not in the report. We tried to keep it mostly to a fiscal exercise, but so as I refer to him, the fabulous Mr. Reynolds has been doing yeoman's work on trying to figure out where to add more garden plots. And we have some thoughts in mind that I'm assuming he's going to report on when he brings his sustainability report to the board in a few weeks.
And
Teaser.
the conversation about how to potentially adapt that program to grandfather the people who are currently, but expand it for those
Yeah.
to allow more participation. Where are we looking at on
Yeah,
that?
so I will define the staff's attitude towards that as nervous, because a lot of people have been with their garden plot for a very long time.
That's why you grandfather people in.
That's right. So we do have some ideas on how to do it. I think 26 is the year. I know you asked us a year ago, and I think we're prepared to have that conversation. It's us checking all of our boxes, so we're prepared.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Director Gesture.
This won't come as a surprise to Mr. Lusk, but we need to know whether these tiers are actually working or not. And in order to do that, we need this data based on net revenue. And so I appreciate all the work that went into this. But we can't make budget decisions unless we know we're meeting our targets or we're not meeting our targets. And I do think that it probably is pretty apparent that we're not making some of our targets. For instance, because what I would like not to do during this budget season is get back into a conversation about the value system, because I feel like the tier system, we set the value system. Now we need to know whether the value system is working or not working. And we need to stick with that value system and be making budget decisions based on the value system we already have set up. So for instance, we have stand-up paddleboard rentals that staff have been trying to do for the last few years. It's not making its revenue targets, and it is, supposed to be in a tier target in which it's making more revenue. I feel the same way about the boat rental programs. We've been trying them for a few years. They should be covering at least the costs that we put into purchasing the boats and the costs of the staff that rent the boats. If things are not making their tier value system, we need to start talking about what to do as an alternative. And most likely those things are either changing the fee structure so that we can get to a place where we feel like we're going to make the value system, or we need to talk about eliminating them. I think we're probably in the same situation without knowing the cost of the staffing component with pickleball lessons. I believe I saw between members and non-members, we had 19 pickleball lessons in total. And that, I think, was the purpose of the value system that we put together. Now we need to start making the hard decisions. So we either start asking for some specific programs for staff to go back and try to parse through the data to get as much of the net costs as possible, or we start making these at the next meeting and making decisions on whether to eliminate them or not. I think that it's important. I also want to make a comment about Walker Nature Center. a lot of the summer at Walker Nature Center is taken up by camp space. And it is a big portion of the revenue that that they bring in. So I think that the report, I was speaking offline with Director Santa, and she came away from the report with the impression that Walker Nature Center wasn't making their revenue because all their other categories are down. But they actually exceeded their revenue targets for camps. And so if you take both of them into consideration, you balance them out. The one thing that I'm kind of concerned about there, that I would ask staff to take into consideration, is I know we made a change this year to bring them under the umbrella of the rest of the camps. And so we started to kind of outsource in areas we hadn't in the past, so that there was that consistency. But as the program went on this year, I started to think, but then what were the normal nature center staff that would have done those camps? Like, what were they spending their time on? Because I knew a big portion of their summer was. And so I'm just kind of wondering if we, under the umbrella of having consistency, do we have some efficiencies because we're hiring more on this side but not utilizing the existing? So I'd ask you to kind of take that into consideration, because I can't see it from a net revenue perspective, but it feels like there's something there that
Director
we
Fisher?
should consider.
A moment ago, you made a request that to me sounded as though it was requiring board action. And that request was that we take into consideration information from this report to determine whether or not there are programs that need to be stopped or curtailed or whatever we're planning to do. So are you actually proposing that there be board action for that? Is there, do you want to make a motion that the board take that kind of action? For instance, put together a working group.
And I'd be happy to have a working group of board members sit down between this meeting and next meeting to kind of talk about the report and ones that we might want to consider. You will see motions from me related to eliminating or changing these programs based on the information that we have. And so I'm happy to participate in a subgroup. I have actually had a member call me today and ask me to participate in a subgroup because when they were reading the report, they felt like some of the color some of the data we needed wasn't there, but there was enough data there to start making inferences. So I'm not going to make a motion to it, but I'm happy to participate with any board member who wants to talk about motions for the budget when it comes to next meeting. My understanding of this meeting is we were requested by our CEO not to make motions.
We're requested not to make motions specific to, ending programs and along those lines. I think if we were to further study, that's consistent with any request that we would have gotten. So if any, Director Mopar.
Yeah, I just want to get a little bit of a clarification, and primarily from our COO, Mr. Lusk. I made a comment earlier that I believe this is the first year that we're looking at categorizing the information in terms of using a fee pyramid as a framework to classify the expenses and the programs and other things. And I made a comment that I think we need a little bit more time for this framework to get to an equilibrium state, whether it's 1 year or 2 years of data, so that you can get a good feel and be able to confidently say, program XYZ is meeting its budget planning or it's not meeting its budget planning, and therefore it should be canceled. Are you comfortable to make, this is a hypothetical, are you comfortable today, based on the data that's here, after the first year of categorizing it this way, to say, yep, program XYZ didn't meet the number, therefore it should be canceled?
So I wanted to bring this report at the end of August. I wasn't ready, so I didn't bring it. We are planning for the 25th of September to make some recommendations based on what we learned in this report. Some of the programs that Director Juszczyk mentioned will be included in that analysis. When we talk about efficiencies with some of these programs, it isn't necessarily just dollars, but it's time. So if we're stand-up paddleboards is a really great example. We're spending time trying to run a stand-up paddleboard program. It's a noble effort. We run programs called, I'm trying to remember the name. Oh, it's called a yappy hour. So you're supposed to go on your paddleboard and yap with your friends. That's why that's called the yappy hour. It's a great idea. It doesn't seem like it's working. Okay. So we are ready to make some recommendations on the 25th for programs that may just not be working for us anymore.
25th of September.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And I was hoping that, if you would make a similar motion, the motion consistent with what I requested a moment ago. So you could work with Peter and make sure that your motions that you're going to put forward are maybe perhaps consistent with the ones that he's going to put forward, and we can maybe save some of the board's time. So if there's, Dr. Perry.
I was just, when I read through it was very clear, the staff said, we'd like another year with this program to confirm. This is, I just find it funny. We went through a piece of, this isn't enough data. We can't get enough information out of this too. This is enough data to slash and burn as usual. So I just, great. You're going to make motions to slash and burn. Cool. Excellent. We're prepared. Let's move on.
Okay, it's an informational session. Clearly, no one wants to take action. So we will move on to item H. And just as a note, we're 7 minutes behind schedule. So if we can move faster. Is this going to be consistent with item H?
I think I want to make sure that the board understands that although this report was created, we have data, lots of historical data.
So this isn't consistent with item H?
Sorry.
So I'm sorry, no.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Mr. Cummins.
I will be brief in my remarks. Vice President Santa is not here tonight. She is the liaison to the Land Use Committee, but perhaps either Director Farrell or Juszczyk would like to supplement. My understanding is that the Land Use Committee is seeking guidance from the Board of Directors around how to progress. A PRC plan has been submitted relative to some development on Reston National Golf Course. The developer is asserting that they have certain rights to build out there. So the PRC plan has been submitted and is being reviewed at Fairfax County. And you all may recall that when the SSPA was submitted earlier in the year, the board held a special meeting and determined to keep comment from the association, all comment from the association at the board level. So my understanding is it's a fairly basic request. Does the board want to retain all discussion relating to the PRC plan at the board level, or follow the process adopted in the Land Use Committee resolution, which would indicate that they would be reviewing anything relating to the PRC plan and making a recommendation to you all, just like any other zoning application that they would review. So 2 options, follow the process outlined in the resolution or give some alternate guidance. And if I didn't capture all of that, perhaps Directors Juszczyk or Farrell could weigh in.
Dr. Farrell, I saw you had some consternation to the left.
Well, I think our CEO captured it in the last sentence, which is, will regular order apply, or does the board want to deviate from regular order? The board, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Continue, please. It's not for the record. Please proceed.
So regular order would have been for the SSPA for that board, for that committee, Land Use Committee, to meet with the applicant and the members. Now, this is, our resolution says when the Land Use Committee examines an application, we hear from the applicant and we hear from the members. So that would be normal process. several months ago, the board intervened and in regular process and said, don't follow regular process as regards this application. That's how I interpreted the board's motion. Others on the board, on the land use committee, wanted more clarification. So the question before the board tonight is, shall we follow, with regard to the PRC amendment currently pending, shall we follow regular process? That's the question. And unless the board says otherwise, the land use committee would follow the resolution and the regular process laid out in the resolution. But before an invitation would be made, given the history of this particular property, the land use committee didn't want to waste everybody's time if the board was going to say, no, don't do that. So that's why we're back. We're back. That's why the land use committee wanted to get guidance from the board. What do you want to do here, guys?
Just a moment. So it sounds to me as though there should be a motion on the table asking that we do one or the other,
Actually,
and then let the board make an actionable decision.
Actually, Mr. President, with respect, it's the opposite. That if the board doesn't want the land use committee to act, the board needs to make that motion. We don't need a motion to say follow regular order. Regular order is already established. So this was an opportunity for the board to say to the land use committee, don't do anything. If regular order is fine with the majority of the board, there's no need for a motion. We'll follow regular order.
And that's why I'm asking for a motion to see if we can actually just gauge, put on the record the majority of the board. So
It would seem to me that if somebody wants a land use committee to deviate from regular order, they need to make that motion.
fair enough. Director Lanza.
Just a question to catch myself up on the due date of this PRC plan. Do we know when the county attorney is supposed to weigh in on whether or not those development rights exist?
No. Our understanding is that the county kicked out a letter that more or less said the application was incomplete and was somewhat nebulous in that, which probably indicates this is going to be a very lengthy process over there.
Mr. President, if I could address the question
Please.
posed. Even if the county attorney issued such a letter, we won't see it. That memo would go to the zoning administrator and to the board, and it would be attorney-client privilege, just like correspondence from our counsel to us. So we won't know.
It wouldn't be in the staff report.
No, sir. It is unusual, if ever, that a county attorney's opinion is ever shared with the public. I just had such a case and made representations as to what the law was. And based on the actions of the staff, I believe the county attorney agreed with me, but I don't know that because I never saw the opinion.
So the PRC plan hasn't been accepted by the county.
It was submitted in June, and the letter went back detailing additional things that would need to be submitted.
Director Fleshman.
If the Land Use Advisory Committee were to proceed according to normal, what would it do?
Please.
In this particular case?
In every case.
No,
It's not.
in this particular case?
Regular order is that we invite the applicant in and we invite our membership in to hear what is being proposed and to hear what the community thinks about the proposal. And then the land use committee would develop a position for the board to take. So you would be getting a writing from the land use committee saying, we believe the board should take the following position. And then it would be up to the board to vote on what that position would be. There's only one resolution out there on the golf courses, and it says we should have 2 golf courses. One of the options in the pending application would be to preserve the golf course, but make it a 9-hole golf course. And obviously, in order to create acreage to build housing. So our current resolution, this person believes, I believe, is woefully inadequate to the situation. And so I would hope that we could have a resolution and a position by the board that says, no, we want the maintenance of the current golf course. We want it to continue, and we have these problems with this application. And I would hope that, I can't speak for the whole committee, but I would hope that the land use committee would come back to the board saying, here's a resolution we've developed for you that speaks to the details of this application that goes into more detail than we're a two golf course community, that's the only thing we got on record now.
If I may.
Please.
We have heard the attorney for the developer state what his present position is with respect to his understanding of his right to proceed on the construction of housing. And there was something submitted that was there not in writing.
So can I, Mr. President?
Please, but this is going to be the last back and forth on this.
I may appeal that. We're confusing two things, Mr. Flashman. Okay. In one case, there is an application that says, I want to amend the PRC plan for the property. Okay? A second position, and a fallback position on the part of the applicant is, I don't need any PRC.
I have it by right.
I have it by right.
And
the
one by, just to clarify, the one by right is the one that's pending.
No, sir.
No?
No. What's pending is a PRC amendment. That's what's pending, effectively a rezoning. The applicant's fallback position is, if you deny me this, I'm going to go to court and ask the court to rule I have by right development. So it's two different strategies. One is voluntarily give me the rezoning I want, and if you don't give me that, I'm going to go to court and ask the court to rule that I have by right development. So they're two separate things. This that we're talking about is the PRC amendment that's currently pending, for which they've submitted, and the county has a year to act on the submission. So that's what we're talking about tonight.
That's the PRC amendment.
That's the PRC amendment. We're asking the board to acknowledge that regular order is appropriate.
Okay, but that has been submitted. Is there any reason to meet with the developer?
Sure, to hear what he has to say about his submission. It's more extensive than just what's the basis for going forward. And only by meeting with the developer are we going to be able to develop a more robust resolution for the board to consider.
Okay. Director Mapar.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit confused here. I thought we had a special meeting where we decided that the land use committee would not meet with the developer. Are you talking about the same thing?
No, sir.
In a different way?
No, sir. That, Mr. President,
please,
with your indulgence, that was on Mr. Mapar, Director Mapar, that was on the SSPA. The SSPA is not going forward. This is on the profit condition amendment that, as of right now, is going forward. Two different things.
Okay.
And the argument, I'm sorry, Mr. Mapar, am I being disrespectful to you?
I don't think anyone was disrespectful to anyone, so please, let's continue.
You've got the floor right now. I've been talking for 10 minutes, and I'm really confused.
I'm trying to answer the questions that were posed, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I got it.
So there is an argument made by the applicant that this PRC amendment preserves two golf courses.
I understand. I know the
I'm
history.
sorry, I was addressing the president. So that's different, and our current resolution doesn't address that proposal.
Okay. I'm going to weigh in here. Unless we're going to take some kind of action, unless there's a board motion, we're going to curtail conversation on this, and we're going to move forward. So is there going to be a motion on Director Farrell's request that we either deviate from the standard behavior and don't allow them to meet with the developer, or do we follow standard our standard behavior and let land use committee meet with the developer.
And the membership, sir.
And the membership, land use committee and the membership meet with the developer. Director Lanza.
Motion to allow land use committee to meet with developer and membership to discuss the PRC application.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there discussion? Director Perry.
Why is this motion necessary if that's the normal course of business?
Because previously the board has taken action to deviate from this.
I believe I heard Director Farrell say that that was only on the SSPA and that's gone and this is no longer the SSPA and therefore blah, 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 it's all new.
Point of order.
However, I appreciate that. Director Perry, let's keep it civil, please. Thank you. Director Joseph, I see your hand go up. Thank you. All right. We have a motion made. Motion's been seconded. There's been minimal conversation. Let's vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Opposed? 1, 2, and abstaining. 1. 4, 2, 1, motion carries. It is now 7:51, and I would like to take a break. So if we can take a 15-minute break, I would appreciate it. Hey, everybody, welcome back from our break. Before we get started, I want to reiterate our ground rules for conversation and debate. Each director can speak briefly up to 2 times on any motion, but only after everyone has had a chance to speak once. Please keep comments focused on the issue at hand. Personal attacks, interruptions, and long statements aren't necessary or acceptable. And all remarks, especially those colorful ones, must be directed to the chair. No side conversations, please, and if you'd like to speak, wait to be recognized. If any of these rules are broken, I will act to keep our meeting on track. All right? Thank you very much to everyone for their understanding and agreement. Moving on to item I, of, I just want to start over. Item I of the agenda, strategic plan implementation. Mr. Cummins, this is yours.
Thank you, Director Johnson. I'm going to be brief in my remarks this evening. We have committed to the board that we will bring back a progress update on the strategic plan at least once a quarter. We intend to continue to bring back the spreadsheet that you see in your packet, which we created about a year ago to track progress in the pillars and the strategies within the strategic plan. And just as a refresher, anybody watching at home, it's a 3-year strategic plan started in 2024, so we're roughly halfway through the lifespan of the strategic plan, ending in 2026. We're making outstanding progress on the document, so you'll see at the bottom of the spreadsheet a number of completed items, and then in the body of the spreadsheet, most everything has either started progress or is just about to be finished. So we anticipate being able to finish the totality of the items that have been identified about 18 months ago as the highest priority items for the association. So happy to take any questions from the board if you have specific questions. I know there's a lot of individual line items on there, but overall the progress has been outstanding, and thanks to the staff for making sure that we're staying on top of all these things.
Great, thank you. Director Farrell, I believe you brought something to our attention earlier.
I can wait and see if anybody else has any questions, and then I'll make my motion.
Are there any other questions? I don't have any questions. No further discussion?
Okay. Mr. President, I'm looking, I don't have a page number. Strategy number 4 regarding borrowing. Mr. President, you and I served on a working group looking at our capital budget plans for the next several years, next 10 years. Director Mullenix was on that also. And part of the result of that was a draft capital budget that we've seen and shows a pretty standard, relatively flat contribution to RRF for expenses and to build up a little bit more of a background. So for the next 10 years, we're going to be able to meet all of our capital needs without engaging in any kind of financing and without any special assessments or any of that kind. So I think, Mr. President, I've moved to end strategy number 4, evaluate debt issuance and its role in capital projects, because I think we've demonstrated through the site-specific assessments that we're not going to have to do any kind of borrowing in order to keep our physical plan up to speed.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I second that.
Motion's made and seconded.
Seconded, sorry, my microphone was off, sorry.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any conversation? Director Lanza.
Just to ask a question, probably directed towards Ed. Do you foresee any issues with doing this or any complications we might be throwing your way by doing this action?
No, I don't see any issue with it. And, I would agree with Director Farrell. And I did provide a briefing, a couple months ago on kind of the impact of using debt financing versus, kind of collecting ahead and the interest we'd earn versus the interest we pay. So we had some discussion on it already. And, as Director Farrell indicated, I don't think we'll see a need for debt financing in the near future.
Okay. Motion has been made, seconded, conversation has been had. All in favor? Unanimous of all in attendance. Any further questions, discussion of this matter? All right, seeing none, we can move on to item J, which is executive session. in which we discuss contractual matters, personnel matters, and consultation with legal counsel. We have, one thing. Yeah. So that's it.
Do we have any?
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Need to. Can we get the exact language for the motion, please?
Just for personnel?
Just for
Yeah.
volunteers.
Yes, it's personnel.
volunteers.
Move to convene an executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Okay, thank you.
Second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? And 6 against, 1. Okay, 5-1, thank you very much. Let's move into executive session. Do you want to take yourself off mute?
Sometimes when you come out of executive session, you're locked.
Yeah.
Oh,
Brittany's got to do her part first.
okay.
She was admitted as.
Yeah, it was because you'd already left the room and you were just trying to be efficient.
There we go.
There she is. Okay.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Directors of the Reston Association certify to the best of each member's memory that only matters relating to personnel were discussed in executive session.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous of all in attendance.
I move to approve Sharika Sharar for the position of chair to the Environmental Advisory Committee.
Is there a second? And
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I move
Unanimous of all in attendance. Go on.
I move to approve Thomas Freed and Shirley Thomas for the positions of co-vice chair to the Environmental Advisory Committee.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous of all in attendance. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt the agenda for the September 25 meeting of the Board of Directors as published in our materials. And I'm happy to entertain any amendments that folks think are necessary.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded. I'm going to open this up for comment. Comment? Questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Director Jurchak,
Director Jurchak? That's unanimous of all in attendance.
for the business.
We have no further business.
At
The meeting is hereby adjourned.